We welcome you back to Fresh Outlook. In national news, 24 Texas House Republican members and the state's 2 Republican senators have penned a letter to President Obama asking him to suspend executive orders that weaken immigration laws. Will the president listen? Let's check in with our panel of Dee Dee, Dr. Bart, and we still have Sebastian on with us. Dee Dee, let's talk about this. You're our GOP representative, if you will. Let's talk about they band together and they've asked the president to enforce this law.
Yeah, well, look, Governor Perry's job is to take care of Texas, and there's an invasion in our country, and much of that is in Texas. So he is like, look, the president is doing nothing, and I need to act, because he's not. So he's sending 1,000, boots on the ground to protect the border and to protect Texans, and he's putting America first. So really, I think he's acting more presidential than Obama.
I think he's a joke. I think Governor Perry is a national disgrace and a joke. Send 1,000 troops that have no power. They're not police officers. They're not trained. For kids that are coming over, we had an immigration bill sponsored by the president, this administration.
In 2012.
And the money that was thrown at border security was in the billions and billions of dollars. McCain said it might have been overkill. It couldn't pass because GOP does not want to pass anything for this president. They will pass nothing.
We've never seen the number. There's been something like 51,000 children coming across the border, and they're saying that it could be upwards of 90,000. Those are some of the predictions. It's slowed a tiny bit there. But not much. And what were the other choices? Let's, Sebastian.
Well, first of all, when you mention those children, I believe that's a huge problem. How can you, as a parent, send a child abroad, himself or herself? This is like, I'm a father. I'm afraid to send my daughter across, the street.
But I'm going to go back to that, and that's a very good point. Children in this is according to the UN, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Children are more likely to be killed in those countries than children in Iraq at the height of the war. So as a parent, I can't even imagine having to send your child through the desert to walk all night, but that's how bad it is. I think that there's...
One thing, if I may say, is that those countries are failing. They don't provide, economic growth, so there is a big incentive to leave those countries because the life and standard of living over there is horrible. They cannot even provide security, like you think about Mexico.
Well, the gangs are running everything.
And many other countries. So I understand those people, they want to come to the United States because probably that's the best option for them. But you still have a problem with the United States, how we're going to manage this.
Well, that's very sad, but I'm sorry, they're illegal aliens. And you know what? People from Turkey, people from Germany, Canada, they all do it the right way. So, I'm sorry, but this is not the right way to go about it. And they're not coming over on their tricycles. This is a coordinated effort. And it's really pathetic on a parent's part, our government's part, their government's part, and everyone involved. But I'm sorry, that is not for us to take care of. They need to go back.
Well, Dee Dee's saying it's a mess, and I agree. You are absolutely correct on that one. So why didn't we pass an immigration bill? And to your point, Sebastian, I think that desperation breeds this. I think it's a good point. Desperation breeds parents sending kids over, even though they know it's dangerous. It's probably less dangerous, as Mia's saying, than other choices they have. So it's a really tough.
But you're leaving out a big part of this,
mess.
Dr. Bart. This is not the GOP's part, really. We want the border secured. First and foremost, we say that at nauseum.
That's what the bill said. The bill had billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah, to bring in illegals, to bring them in. No, that's exactly what it is.
The border.
That's why the GOP didn't want to pass it.
The bill, according to McCain, had billions of dollars to protect the border so people would not come in. That was not passed by the GOP. It was not passed.
No, the devil's in the details on this because it's not about building a border. That's what the GOP wants. What the Democrats want is they want to bring all these new voters in.
That's not true.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Let's check in with our international lawyer, Sebastian.
Well, first of all, I believe the good approach is first secure the border, then make sure there's really good path towards the green card or temporary stay or whatever. You can have a lot of ideas and you can choose whichever one is the best. On the other side, I used to work at the Polish consulate, as an attorney, and I can tell you, it's so much harder to get a green card for Poland and citizenship in Poland than citizenship in the United States. So this path is not as hard as many different countries, but maybe it's still too hard for them. You can also, you should look at the businesses. Businesses will need to get some of those immigrants to come in. When you look at the business model of Walmart, no Americans are going to work over there in 5 or 10 years. You either get the Mexicans or you have to replace all the people with machines. So there has to be some kind of reform.
Yeah, and I think the reform is twofold. We have a problem at the border right now, but we have 12 million, at least, people in this country that are illegal aliens here. And what do we do with them? I mean, you have Rick Perry and you have Ted Cruz who say we should deport them.
I agree.
That would cost $1 trillion.
I'm sorry,
that would cost us $1 trillion.
Oh no, it's way cheaper to do that than Obama's plan.
12
do you know
million.
what
Let me ask
Obama's plan was $1,000 a kid. That's what his new plan. That's what he wanted.
But let me ask you
Let's
just
go to
a
Waldorf
question.
Astoria for
Let me
that.
ask a question to the panel. Are these children illegal immigrants or are they refugees? Dee Dee?
They're illegal aliens. They are illegal aliens. We need to put America first. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about their
refugees.
situation.
I'm
sorry their situation's bad, but we've got bad situation
But
here
we're
too.
seeing
We've got
a lot of
in
children
Detroit.
no, but we're seeing a lot of
mention.
children from Syria crossing over to Turkey and over to Lebanon. Those are refugees. We see children now from Palestine. They're crossing over the borders.
This is what they are.
That was
No, they're
a great
not.
question because it's really borderline. It really depends, what you think. I can't say to you. I know on one point we are illegal immigrants because we don't conform to the immigration law. On the other hand, under certain circumstances, you can, consider them like refugees if you are coming from those areas that they cannot live. There's, gangs, controlling the situation. But it's a very difficult situation.
Well, another question, because we did mention the National Guard, and we have a couple of other topics that we do want to touch on also. But let's go back to the National Guard. Should they be given the right or the authority to arrest people?
Of course.
They-
Look, the National Guard, they're there to protect Texans. And there's an invasion, and there's crime, and there are deaths. There's all kinds of problems. Governor Perry is absolutely right.
Perry's completely wrong. The National Guard is not a police force. These kids are not causing danger. They're not.
Yes, they
they're
are.
Not,
The whole
they're not, they're
situation.
not,
You do have
know.
some disease issues.
You
do
have some
other
bad elements and possibly these, but
Then there's teething
they needed
scabies.
to be treated humanely, and then if they need to be sent back, then that's what we have to do. But we need a border bill passed. That's what we need.
I mean, common sense would tell you that yes, they should have the right to arrest them. But on the other hand, immigration law is a federal law; it's not a state law, and and state guard is just coming under the state law, so they don't really have the authority under federal law to arrest those people. But the common sense would sort of suggest that they should do it if the law is being broken, so they should take the action.
But one thing we did say beforehand is it has slowed a little bit at the border. Still, projections are for 90,000 children to cross the borders this year.
Huge problem.
We do
Huge
want to
problem.
also talk about a mystery at the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, several people scaled the top of the bridge and replaced 2 American flags with 2 white flags. Now, the episode has raised questions about security at the Brooklyn Bridge and what these flags mean. We want to take the temperature with our panel. We'll start with you, Dr. Bart.
The white flag has to mean something. Does it mean that the U.S. is surrendering itself for some reason? Also, this is a situation that caused a lot of grief, but it was well planned. It had to be very carefully executed,
Well,
which I find interesting.
to scale that from what all the accounts that I've read, they scaled up there at 3 in the morning, blocked the lights, and then were able to switch the flags around. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it
Sebastian?
would be so much easier if you actually wrote something on those flags.
Well, I would agree. I mean, there's certainly a reason why there was no
And like,
message.
hello, it's
Well,
Vladimir
the
Putin or something.
a bleached American flag, that's so disrespectful. And the white, meaning surrender, yeah, I think it's definitely a very bad, I think it was an anti-American message, I do.
Do you agree with that, Sebastian?
To some point, yes.
But it's also certainly raised questions in New York City. In just the last couple of months, we've seen a 16-year-old scale the Freedom Tower and a couple of other daredevils rappel down off of it.
That's the key point, I think, because we're worried about security. And if this situation that you're describing, plus now the Brooklyn Bridge, this makes us all nervous in terms of what are we
And
what
with
are we
all the
gonna
terrorism and unrest in the world,
Yeah.
it's like,
I'm
here we
surprised
go.
they were able to. I'm surprised they were able to do it at the Freedom Tower. I'm surprised they were able to do it at the Brooklyn Bridge also. I mean, it's very surprising. I'm just hoping that it's like some 16-year-old kid that tried to rappel down.
Unfortunately, I don't think you're right.
think there it is either. Obviously, 2 bleached American flags is certainly a message, and we'll be looking to see what that message is. We also do want to look at the other national headlines here. We're going to go out to Detroit right now, a city that is bankrupt. And this, within the last couple of hours, 15,000 people who had unpaid water bills, their water has been shut off. Can you imagine what is happening in that city right now?
Geez, you know what? I bet they're thinking, why is all that money going to illegal aliens when we have American problems here? I'd really like to see that money help the people of Detroit. How about you?
I think it's a bad decision. I don't know how it happened, but turning off the water on people who are not making it makes it worse. I mean, where do they go? What do they do? I mean, it's a bad operation.
I mean, Detroit is such an example, urban development that you can study so much. Actually, there's a real very good study by the Harvard professor, Edward Glaser, who tracked down the whole collapse of Detroit because the authorities were raising property taxes so high that a lot of people, especially the white suburban people, have been flooding, to many different cities. And the population dropped, the economy dropped, and you can see it's really an example of bad management of the city.
Well, it's also the motor industry, a lot of the collapse of that as well.
Yes.
But just a couple years back, probably 7 years ago, I believe it was, I covered the Super Bowl, and the NFL put in millions of dollars to restore the downtown area, and still nothing. I mean, if you go to Detroit right now, and just some of those outlying cities, you have so many homes that are just abandoned.
Well, look, safety is so important. That's why I think Rudy Giuliani and Bloomberg were so great, because they made this city safe. Well, when Detroit started being a war zone, everybody left. Everybody went to the suburbs, and then there's no jobs. And they're going to leave even further.
Well,
so it's
going to take a generation to bring the city back, and it's going to have to be brought back in ways where there's jobs, there's opportunity. It's known for a mecca for some reason. We don't know besides auto.
It's just wonder. It's a great city in terms of right on the lake. You can cross over to Canada right there. It's really got so many wonderful opportunities, but you really do need some sort of big business to go in there.
You mentioned the auto industry. It's another example that you cannot build a city right now around one industry only. You need to base it on entrepreneurship, on startup communities, something that Bloomberg was trying to do, in the city of New York. But when you look at Detroit, you don't really have that push, for the startup community, and just one big company goes down, then your whole city goes down.
It's just amazing to watch.
This is a great point, because a really great city needs to have multi-dimensional factors, like New York does, or like San Francisco or LA. I mean, you really need that.
But terrible corruption, terrible mismanagement across the board. There are so many people on the take that it just went down the tubes.
But it still has been heartbreaking to watch, because we've all watched it collapse in the last couple, just in the last couple of years. We are going to make things a little bit cheerier here, everybody. More news on the way. We're going to turn to some stories that might make you smile and even laugh. The lightning round is next.